Mind Gap Podcast.
Welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin. And Doug, what item do you hope will be obsolete in 20 years?
Social media. Next question.
Ooh, I love how you had that preloaded.
I don't know if it's an item necessarily, but like...
It's a thing.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit if that takes us back to the dark ages. Get it out. We do not need it. It was a wonderful experiment that has ended terribly, that has made us all worse because it exists. Let's fucking bury it under the prison, baby, because we do not... Do you think there's a time where people would be like, fucking shut this shit down? Probably not, because it makes money.
No, absolutely not, yeah. The corporate machine has gotten way too far behind it. I don't think that it'll ever go away. I do think that there could be a mass exodus from it, and usership goes significantly down, but I don't think it ever goes away, personally.
Yeah, I think the users just shift somewhere else. That's all it is. It's just I think it's a Pandora's box that is now forever opened and no one will ever go back to. Because also I'm wondering if the users would ever actually be like, it would have to be the only way to shut that down would be for the users to stop using it altogether. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Absolutely. Like, I know there was a big shift away from Facebook a couple years back, and then a big shift away from X.
It's
recently.
Twitter. Don't give it the satisfaction.
But I think, there's always going to be some sort of a base, you know, and right now it seems as though the right wing, crazy Nazi Elon Musk, fucking sympathists, that seems to be who is gravitating towards Twitter right now. Mm-hmm. Horribly freakish place. So, they can go ahead and have that. Let it burn, as far as I'm concerned.
Enjoy that. Enjoy advertising on there, fellas. Have fun. Justin, what's one thing that you would like to see gone in 15 years?
I'm not going to lie. Social media is a great answer. I'm 100% stealing your answer.
That's cool.
I think I was going to ask you, how will you keep up with what your favorite celebrities are doing, though, Doug? How are you going to learn when Blink-182 is going to release a new album?
Guess what? Whether I like it or not, that information will find its way to me.
Will it? Are you sure, Doug?
I was on the Weather Channel app checking the weather, and there was a fucking headline about a Taylor Swift concert and how someone died at it. I was like, I want to know what the weather is, motherfucker!
Did she kill someone?
She didn't kill someone directly.
Ooh.
The weather did. The weather did. Apparently,
and as we all know, she controls the weather, so...
Yeah. Apparently it was in Brazil, and it was so ungodly hot, and the conditions there were terrible. Like, they don't allow people to bring water into that facility where they were performing. Ooh. So someone essentially got so dehydrated and died because of it. I was like, I'm here to check the weather. I don't fucking care about Taylor Swift and fans dying. Like, whether I like it or not, that information came to me. Right. And I was looking at the fucking weather. So it will happen. I don't know. How do we get the news before social media? You know what I mean? Like
Tom Brokaw.
That's
it.
Email newsletters. You know?
Right. Let's bring back the newsletter. I want to bring back the newsletter. Let's subscribe to 30 newsletters.
Apparently they still exist, right? Because
I'm subscribed to a couple.
Yeah, those things still come out. I mean, all the time.
I'm just too lazy to unsubscribe from them.
Yeah, they still exist to some degree. I don't know. I'm not worried about that shit. I'm like, I'll find out, you know, I hear some people talk about how they're connected to social media for the sake of like being connected to the news. And I'm like, you will still find the news. You will still find information. And for some people, it's like, well, it's the only way I'm connected to some people. You know, I'm like, okay, fucking get their number. Get their number and connect with them that way. Like, I personally, I'm like, I don't need to be, you know, like Facebook was for some of that stuff. It's like, well, this is the only way I still get connected to some people. I'm like, how connected do you really need to be with some of these people?
And that's the big question. Like, if you need social media to be able to connect and you're not actually reaching out to these people, then the 150 monkeys scenario, I would argue that these people probably aren't people that you need to be keeping up with.
Or if it's like that's a universal communication tool, right? Like Facebook Messenger is how you stay in touch with whatever and whatnot. I'm like, personally, I'm like, fuck that website. Like, nothing's going to keep me there. And I was actually talking to someone today. I was like, if I didn't have this podcast, I don't think I'd be on any of them, to be honest with you. I'd be like, I barely used Instagram. Here goes Doug again, talking about how much he doesn't use social media. Yeah, I don't really enjoy
curmudgeon-y old Doug.
I would drop them all in a heartbeat if I didn't have to, because I just don't enjoy the experience in general. And I'm terrified for what Natalie will have to go through when she gets older. So
well, and the thing is, you're going to have to try to keep up on what, at least in the beginning phases, you're going to have to try to keep up on what she's on, what the new ones are. Yeah. I'll never forget one of the there's milestones that I remember as I get older. There's milestones that I remember where I'm like, oh, I've fallen a little bit more out of touch with what's going on.
I remember when some of this was happening, when we worked at assignment desk, you're like, uh-oh.
I'm having trouble keeping up, and I'm actively trying. And my niece, Beth's and my niece, she, a couple years back when, it wasn't Beam. What was it? Be Real. That was what it was. When Be Real was just coming out. Randomly, one summer, we asked her, we're like, so what's social media, like what's the social media that you guys are on right now? Because we knew that people had moved away from Facebook, and we knew that TikTok was, or Instagram was kind of riding this weird wave up and down. I think TikTok had not really become what it was yet, and Snapchat was kind of the king. And all of a sudden, she's like, "Oh, Be Real," and I'm like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Be Real." And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying to me right now. Like, she had explained it to me, and I'm like, I mean, it's a great concept for an app, but fuck me, why did I not know that this, like, millions of people are on this and I didn't know about it? Oh man. So like it's inevitable, man. It is inevitable.
I'm happy to not know about it if it's not something I'm interested in. You know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is you're going to have a hard time. Like, you're really going to have to actively try to stay on top of that bullshit.
Right now, I am pretty in tune. Like, I try to stay in the loop with that sort of stuff just because I want to be active in her life and understand that sort of stuff and understand the pros, the cons, and everything like that. Personally using it, probably not going to happen, but I just want to be like, and I don't want to be those guys. Like, I heard on the news that this new app is just terrible for your butthole. So, like, whatever. I don't want to be that person. I actually want to explore it and understand it to some degree and have that conversation.
This app is, they say, son, your perineum on this app. It gives you cancer.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Do it.
Is anyone of Natalie's friend circle, do they have phones? Have they breached the agreement of the 13 and older? Are they on social media?
I don't know if they're on social media. God, I hope not, because they are young.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I know one kid in her class has a phone.
Wow.
Another, like, their older sibling has a phone. And
it's not like a jitterbug where it's like just a pared down version where you can call mom and dad. Yeah, it's a full.
It's an iPhone that apparently has some limitations on it, like as far as like what can be used and whatnot. But I also am like, I looked at Natalie, and Natalie's not jealous or anything because I'm like, because she also goes, I don't want a phone. I'm like, yeah, because what would you use it for?
Right.
I was like, the only functionality you would have for that, you already have in other devices. So there's no reason.
Probably YouTube is what you'd use it for, right?
Well, that games, whatever and whatnot. I was like, we have our own iPad that you can play stuff on, and she has her school iPad that she can play stuff on. It's like, there's no need to whatever. There's not a situation where I'm like, hey, just checking in. What are you up to today? Like, I don't need to do that. And I was like, at some point we will get you one, but I was like, she's like, yeah, it's fine. I don't want or need a phone. I'm like, it's my girl.
That's awesome. Like, seriously, like, there are some kids that one or two friends get a phone and that would have been it. Like, you'd be in the middle of a knockdown drag out fight with her.
Yeah, I would like to believe that we can have a reasonable conversation about it and just be like, hopefully if there's anything I can impart on her besides, reinforcing her amazing sense of humor, it's just objective reasoning, just being like, and I will straight up tell her, I'm like, if you can appeal to practical Doug, you're gonna get places,
right?
But if you cannot answer practical Doug's questions, it ain't gonna happen. It's just ain't gonna happen. Like,
the litmus test is, can you convince me that buying a boat is a good investment?
Right.
The minute you can do that, you can get a phone.
Jill and Natalie are like, we should get a second dog. I'm like, listen, that sounds fun. Here are my concerns. And I start listing them out, and they're like, yeah. I'm like,
Are the majority of your concerns just the name Justin?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
It's a story. Mm-hmm. Justin.
Let me tell you.
Justin.
Because I go through all these things like, is it a puppy or is it one that's a little bit older? It's like, well, puppy's nice because you can build it the way that you want. I'm like, Do you remember how hard it was with Loki and how it basically took us 3 years to get to where we are? Okay, there's that. Oh, who's walking two dogs? Are we walking them at the same time or are we walking them separately? It's like, oh, well, they'll play together. Okay, cool. If we need to board them, that's double the cost. We have to go to the vet. That's double the cost. It's like all these things where I'm like, food. It's, listen, I would love for Loki to have a buddy that hangs out, but I'm just
Loki has 3 buddies currently.
Right, And it's like, we got to travel. Now we got to have spot for 2 dogs. Like, there's just all these things where I'm like, I can't. Right. You can't reconcile all of those things. So I'm like, I'm going to have to say no right now because no.
Let me ask you this, because it's an interesting, like you talking about kind of like quote unquote laying the law down and saying I've got to draw this line. Is there, because there's an element to being practical, and there's a point where practicality shuts down kind of the magic of life and like the experiences and getting in. Life is messy, getting in over your head.
I disagree. Continue.
Well, I don't know if I should continue because this is going to be a stalemate of a conversation. But like life, like part of the excitement of life is that it's messy. It's not always neat and tidy in a bow and practical and everything fits in a box. So is there an element, do you think, that where maybe you have to bend on your practicality a little bit?
It depends on what we're talking about because
the second dog, like there's never going to be an ideal or an optimal time to get a second dog. You're always going to be able to talk your way out of, from a practical standpoint, you're going to be able to talk your way out of getting a second dog.
It depends. It depends on like a lot of things. Like right now it's, I'll give you an example. Like we don't have a ton of flexibility in the mornings with Natalie.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, it's Thanksgiving week, which it is. Happy fucking Thanksgiving, y'all.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
We'll get to that in a second. But the idea that we, on a day off, like, and Natalie has the day we're recording this, tomorrow off, Jill and I just can't get up and go somewhere.
Right.
Like, she and I just can't get up and go work out because Natalie can't be left alone. So so that's why, like, when it comes to working out, like, I get up, I stretch, I walk the dog, I'm gone for an hour, I come back, I then go to the gym, I'm gone for almost another hour after that. Like, that's like 3 hours where I'm out. And Jill's like, well, I can't leave, unless I take Natalie with me. So
to the gym? It's never too early for her to start pumping iron.
Technically, they have a childcare at the gym. So, it is a possibility. I don't want to do that though. But
let me guess, it costs money.
I don't think it does. I think it's included.
Oh, really?
I think.
Oh shit! Okay,
I think it's included. But I'm also like, you don't need to go there and whatever. Anyway, so that's that important. Although today I was stretching and Natalie came over and stretched with me for half a second. She's like, I want to be strong like you, and I'm like, that's my fucking girl. But so for example, like there's not flexibility right now. Also, like if Natalie was old enough to be like, yeah, I need you to help maintain this animal, she can kind of help right now, but not in a way that is like super great. So, and also it's like, how often are we traveling? And like, so there's some elements to that, which like, I'm like, if we could spread this out and have like a 3-person like attack on this and whatever, or like, Natalie, can you go walk the dog? Or what, you know what I mean? Like having some of those elements, I would be more inclined as far as like doing that stuff to make it happen. It's definitely possible. Okay. Right now, I feel like the bulk of the responsibility is on Jill and I, and we have limitations on how that stuff works. So I'm not opposed to that. Right now, it doesn't make sense.
Okay. All right.
And that is the honest truth.
I'm going to log that, Doug.
Good. Log it.
I'm going to log that. I'm going to come back on episode 500.
Great. Let's do that. We'll see you in 79 episodes, and we'll see how that goes.
That's so far away.
It is, right? You're like, oh, that's not that bad. And you're
no,
like, that's...
I was like, oh man, that's so far.
That's a year and a half, you know?
Oh, no, yeah, we're weeks. Yeah, never mind. I was thinking months for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a year and a half away. See you in a year and a half. We'll talk
I'll see
again.
you in a year. Yeah. Join us in a year and a half when we have episode 422.
Yeah. 422? What?
Yeah, we're taking a year and a half off. You just said it, right?
Oh. No, okay. All right,
Yeah.
there you go. I meant, okay, whatever. You guys know what we mean. Anyway, hey, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. If you're listening to this, watching this on YouTube, it's Black fucking Friday. Ah! You know, and if you're listening to it, it's Cyber Monday. Ah! You know, it's whatever. You know, that's
if you're listening to this, if you're listening to this on the podcast, everyone is sad because you're back at work. So hopefully we're making you happy because of that.
That's right, because we're here.
If you're watching this,
if you're watching
cherish
this,
the next 2 days.
if you're watching this, hey, take a break from your family. Put in those. Glad you're here. Take that break and be like, yo, I gotta fucking peace out because goddamn, this shit is a lot. Yeah, I don't remember Thanksgiving being super stressful when I was a kid. Probably because I had a tiny family and we ate like animals. We ate reheated catered food, and it was just like bada bing, bada bing, bada bing with a pipe, and we got through it real quick and everything like that. And I don't mind the holidays now or whatever, Thanksgiving now, but it's definitely become more apparent sometimes, like, you know, those conversations that pop up or, you know, some of those stressful things. I was talking with someone recently who said they go to Ohio and they have a pretty conservative family, but she has like an uncle that's like a cool uncle, and where they hold it, he has like a bar in the basement, and all the people who want to escape.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Go to the basement. He's just like, what can I get you? He's like, whatever you need. And so they've kind of become basement people, and they get the side eye when someone's like, I'm going to the basement. They're like, you're going to the basement. They're like,
with those liberals.
They're like, whatever, man. I'm happy down here. We ain't singing carols. Go fuck yourself. You know, like that's just, you know.
It's truly a speakeasy.
Yeah, it really is. It's like their little hideaway from all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? To some extent,
that's fucking smart.
I respect it because, like, listen, everyone gets together and you're tolerating each other regardless of your differences and things like that. And people are like, I'll see you in the fucking basement, you know, like.
I love the concept that they disappear to the basement for like 3 hours and they come up and they're just lit drunk.
Yeah.
That would just, I just.
Happy New Year! Like it's Christmas. Yeah, whatever, you know.
Absolutely it is.
Hell yeah. Here's my resolution, you know.
Hey, Grandma, can you hear this? Let me turn it up.
Yeah. Pow! In your ears. With that being said, you know, are you excited for Thanksgiving?
I actually am. I enjoy Thanksgiving. I have always enjoyed. So when I was younger, my dad and that side of the family still lives in the Quad Cities, and my grandparents used to live in the Quad Cities when they were still alive. And so my mom and her sister would go down. So I'd have both sides of my family in the Quad Cities. It's the only time of year it happened. So I would have one Thanksgiving dinner, and then I would drive 5 blocks, and I would have another Thanksgiving dinner. And it was awesome because Fat Justin loved it. Yeah. And I got to see both of my families, and I got the best of both worlds. I got a little bit here, and when things started to become, you know, that Thanksgiving, the house is too small, tensions, I was like, all right, I'm going to go over to Dad's side now. Like, whoop, I'm just going to go over here and have a great time. And then I would come back and everything was resolved. We'd be playing cards. I'm like, this is great. This is fantastic. So I've always had a good, and luckily most of my family is, I would say, relatively aligned. We are within the same sphere of thinking. Yeah. Some further to one side than the other, but we're all within the same kind of sphere. Yeah. So it's never been a super contentious. We've never had that one uncle who's just like, let me tell you about 2024, man.
Yeah.
You know,
right? Yeah. It's rough.
So I enjoy it. Beth and I are going to go back down to the Quad Cities this year, and we're going to have a great time. We're going to leave tomorrow morning. We're going to have 5 days, 4.5 days down there, and it's going to be fantastic. So very much looking forward to it. You have a very low-key Thanksgiving Day.
Yes.
And you love that.
Yes. I love mostly because growing up with such a small family, just my parents who are only children. So I have no aunts, no uncles. I have no cousins. So it's just my brother, my parents, and me, super fucking efficient with our holidays. Like bada bing, bada boom. There we go. We get it done. So I kind of enjoy that. And after, I left home and I was like, Jill and I were together and we were just kind of having our own personal Thanksgiving. I was like, some people may think this is sad, but I fucking love this. Like, this is awesome. We do whatever the fuck we want. We make whatever the fuck we want. This is our day. This is cool. And I definitely enjoy that. There's certain little things like, I realize that there's certain things that I just really like to do as like a family unit, like trick-or-treating. Right now, I don't really want to go with any other families or any other parents. I kind of just want to go with us. And I just kind of want to experience that with Natalie at this time. As she gets older or whatever, I'm like, yeah, fucking go with your friends. But right now, I'm like, I want to do this with you. And other things like, we've started this thing now where we make Christmas cookies every year, and Natalie gets super pumped. Like, she's talking about it in July. She's like, Dad, we got to get some new cookie cutters so we can make some new stuff. Like, what do you think we could get? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Awesome. It's July. We'll figure it out when we get there. And she just said today, she's like, I can't wait to make Christmas cookies. And I was like, yeah, I like doing that with just us and us doing that and decorating them and having a lot of fun. So I definitely like that low-key element, but I also do enjoy, like, I pretty much spend the holidays, if we go anywhere, it's with Jill's family, because my family sucks, more specifically my parents, so that ain't happening, so, which I'm fine with, but so I am going to hang out with Jill's family, which is going to be fun. We're going to go up there for a couple nights and whatever, and I'm bringing the carbs, baby. I got focaccia number 1, straight focaccia, delicious. I got focaccia number 2, apple pie focaccia. Just saw this recipe. I'm going to try that shit out. I'm going to make 2 batches of Japanese milk bread. You ain't heard of it, you ain't living. I'm going to make mac and cheese, and then I'm going to smoke an apple pie, baby. Woo! Those are my contributions.
Coming to play.
That's right. So that's what I'm bringing to her sisters. Which I think I'm like, here we go. Like, I fucking love doing that shit. It makes me so happy. I'm so excited to do that. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm excited to try out these recipes and whatnot. And it's also great because Jill's sister lives like in a remote area, kind of like on a farm, and they have horses and they have goats. And tonight, Natalie goes, I can't wait to ride the horses. I'm like, okay, first of all, that's not up to us. So let's just put a pin in that. I go, that's up to them. And also,
let's temper expectations.
It's also going to be pretty fucking cold. So just, keep that in mind. It's not like horrible, but I'm like, we're not used to fucking high of 32 degrees, weather yet. So just chill your tits, okay?
On a horseback in the middle of a plain.
Yeah. I was like, just chill out. All right. Just keep it cool. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. I think we're going to have a good time. Thanksgiving, 4th of July has always been like my top holiday, which is hilarious because we talked about that because it's like not, I'm not a super patriotic guy. I just like the mood.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving is a close second because I love like the food element of it.
Yeah.
Is always like, I've always enjoyed like pumpkin pie. I've enjoyed just like all the good stuff that comes into a Thanksgiving, and sharing a meal I think is really, really cool. You don't get into like, there's nothing super religious, at least not that I'm sure some people are like, we give thanks and whatever, all that other bullshit that people do. And I'm similar, like where I haven't had like a family member that's like, I'll tell you what, the Confederacy, they had a couple things right. And be like, Jesus, I don't have anything like that, thankfully. There's a couple folks that, that show up that I'm like, I know ideologically we don't align, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, don't do this. Just, we understand, don't do this, okay? So don't bring it up, okay? Great, thank you. We actually respect that rule where it's like, let's not go down this road.
Let me tell you about the Pilgrims, and stop. I'm going to stop you right there.
No. One of the last times I was around, like, they had, the family had, like, an Alexa or something, and it was like the tablet, and it was just, like, playing news, and I was like, what is this noise? And I just hear this talking. I'm like, who the fuck is talking? And I look over, and it's like Fox News. It's just, like, on this little tablet that's just playing, and I just go, boop, and I just turn it off. I'm like, I don't think we need to be listening to this on the fucking holidays. It's cool. Right. Just shut that down. I don't need that bullshit while I'm trying to make mac and cheese.
I would sooner listen to Christmas music than
Fox. I was like, turn on Mariah Carey on repeat. Let's do that because I'm done with this. I don't want to do with that. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. And also just Natalie gets to hang out with her cousins, which is always like a great thing for her to play and just turn her loose. I'm like, go have fun within reason. You know,
within reason. The one you mentioned, making the cookies. The one now that my grandparents have passed, and kind of that whole tradition is kind of broken up. Like the family, it just doesn't happen the same way it used to. One tradition that I used to love was making every year. We would make a gingerbread house. So my grandfather would have a gingerbread house pre-made. They bake it off, and he would make the lemon juice and powdered confectioner sugar for the icing. And he would have the gingerbread house constructed, and then the cousins would come in, and myself and my cousin Dale and my cousin Ryan, we would come in, and we'd have all the candy laid out, and we would go about decorating the house, and then at the end, take a picture, and then you get to eat it. It was something I've never. I've never been like, we should make a gingerbread. Like it just in the moment, that was always something I looked forward to. And I don't know if I'll ever have the desire to do it again, but like, that's something I do miss of that one, it was such a unique, odd thing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like gingerbread houses it's such a thing of like the 50s,
It's funny because I've seen them a lot in the grocery stores. Like I see them at Costco, really? I see them at Jewel, and I look at those and I'm like, absolutely not. That does not sound like fun to me. I don't like construction projects. So,
well, my grandfather was a huge builder, DIYer. Like
there you go, perfect.
He could build anything, absolutely anything, and so this to him was like
made sense.
This made sense, yeah.
Wow, something I could build and eat after. I'm in.
Right.
Like it's the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, what I want to do is, for those folks that are, worried about having a tough conversation over Thanksgiving, I put together a little just scene for Justin and I to read. And
I have not read this yet. So
this is compliments of ChatGPT. I put together a little bit of a scene here, and Justin, you're going to be playing Ron Weasley, and I'll be playing Harry Potter. All right.
All right.
So I will read the stage direction. So this is just like, hey, if you're having something, just keep this in mind. Okay, like this is the kind of conversation that might be able to have, and maybe you could just take away something from this. I don't know. So here we go. Interior Weasley family dining room. The Weasley family is gathered around a long table adorned with a festive Thanksgiving spread. Harry Potter and Ron Weasley sit across from each other, their plates filled with turkey, mashed potatoes, and all the trimmings. The conversation starts out civil and polite. No. So, Ron, what's your take on American politics? It's quite fascinating, isn't it?
Absolutely, Harry. It's like a whole different world over there. But I can't help but wonder about some of their policies.
Like what, Ron?
Well, for instance, their healthcare system. Why don't they just use magic to heal everyone? It would save them a lot of trouble.
Oh, Rod, if only it were that simple. Muggles have their own way of doing things, even if it seems a bit backwards to us.
But why can't they learn a thing or two from us? We've got a whole magical world that works just fine.
It's not that they can't learn, Ron. It's just that their world is different, and they have their own challenges to overcome.
I suppose, but sometimes it feels like they're making things unnecessarily complicated.
You're right. Oh, sorry, my bad. Remember,
you took my side.
Remember, Ron, we're guests here. Let's try to have a civil discussion.
You're right, Harry. I apologize.
They continue eating for a moment, but the tension lingers in the air.
Harry, their political system is quite confusing. The Electoral College, the two-party system, it's all a bit baffling.
Well, it may be confusing, but at least they have a system in place. It's not perfect, but it's their way of ensuring representation.
Representation? It seems more like a game of power and manipulation. And what's with all the campaign spending? It's absurd.
Ron, you're oversimplifying things. Their democracy may have flaws, but it's still a system that allows people to have a voice.
A voice? Tell that in a million to feel ignored and marginalized. This system is broken, Harry, and they need to fix it.
And what about our government, Ron? We face corruption and power struggles too. It's not as perfect as you make it out to be. The room falls silent as the Weasley family watches the argument unfold.
You're right, Harry. I let my frustrations get the best of me. I apologize for getting carried away.
No need to apologize, Ron. We're both passionate about our beliefs. Let's agree to disagree and enjoy Thanksgiving together. They exchange a nod of understanding and their argument diffused, but the tension still lingering. Fade out.
I am feeling a Nevada Kedavra coming on very soon.
Wizard duel!
So what was the prompt that you used to pull this?
I said something. Originally, I had pretend you're a comedy writer for Seinfeld, and but it was too heartwarming. It was because it turned out to be too heartwarming. Where they're like, "Man, can you believe all this stuff?" Huh? They're like, "But you know what? At the end of the day, they can put all that aside, and that's what Thanksgiving's all about: is sharing a meal together." And yada yada yada. I'm like, no. I was like, I was like, try again, and this time make it more contentious. It starts out calm, and then it gets more aggressive by the end of it.
Fucking love it. That's really fun. That's really fucking.
I just
fun.
love it. That's somehow they're having
right.
These British people are having Thanksgiving, talking about American politics,
right?
and
Which is
about it.
Why would they? Yeah, the whole premise is completely to start. Why are they having Thanksgiving? It's so
and also
off the
like
rails.
Harry's like, we're guests here. I'm like, where are you? You're at the Weasleys. Like they're. I mean,
right.
like.
Well, it's so we're presuming that that Harry and Ron. This is post credits of movie 7, right? Or
right,
8.
I guess, yeah.
And so they're coming back to Mr. and Mrs. Weasley's house, so they are guests there, and they need to be cool,
Or it's like, Ron's like, why don't they just heal themselves with magic? I'm like, they don't fucking know about magic. That's the whole point. He's like, such a bad argument. Why can't they just fix themselves with magic? They don't know about us. That's the whole point.
Well, according to Fantastic Beasts, absolutely they do. It's just Muggles don't. But America does.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like the Muggles don't. It's like,
yeah.
Well, I guess that's a fair point because if the magic, users over there, they're like, but that's no different. Like the magic users over, in the UK, they don't get
England,
involved.
The Muggles don't. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Because they've got healthcare problems over in the UK too. Yeah. They don't fucking solve them.
Let's back it up, okay?
Yeah.
Have you seen the price of petrol?
Yeah.
Ron?
Am I right? Per liter? Am I right? It's pretty high. I also had it where it was like Harry Potter and Voldemort having this discussion, but it was too. It was too on the. It was like this is obvious that these two wouldn't get. But like Voldemort's like yes, like just. But I love the idea of those two sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner to talk, like and having this, whatever.
This is a scene. This is in its core. This is such a boring, shitty Harry Potter scene that is so like ridiculously practical. Like if Practical Doug wrote a chapter of Harry Potter, it would be this. This is it right here.
I love
it's so like droll and just everyday.
The magically mundane. It's my favorite shit to fantasize about. The boring ass stuff, the bureaucracy, the logistics that have to take place in these fantasy worlds. It's
so what would a dinner party look like? They're just arguing over. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's just so dumb. It's like, why can't they use magic to heal themselves? It's like, well, it's about representation. What representation? There's the electoral college and the election spending. This is absurd. It's amazing. I love it. It's so fun.
Well done, bully.
Bully. Maybe I was just like, this is going to be fun, and Justin won't know about it, so this will make it even better. I like
the things you spring on me. I like these scenes.
I know,
Justin. Wait, no, what was the Justin anime reads anime?
It's the anime out of context.
That's the one, anime out of context. Yeah, anytime that I'm put on the spot with the scene, I'm in. I'm all in.
Yeah, I like having those moments where like we're just going to do a cold read. Here we go.
Let's figure it out.
Let's fire it out. Let's go.
You got to make those decisions right in the moment. Like,
it's great.
Okay, that's who we are. Yeah,
that's who we are. Speaking of bully, the Olympics. That makes sense because it's worldly and whatnot. So
and athletes are bullies.
They are bullies.
Every one of them.
I saw this article a couple weeks ago on NPR that said for the 2028 Olympics, which is it's going to be in Los Angeles. Oh, I guess I didn't know that.
They're coming back to LA.
LA, baby. So they're adding some new sports. And I use that term loosely to No, that's not fair. I'm sure there's
I'm
sports.
I'm gonna preface this. If you have never heard so on this podcast, there's an ongoing debate that stretches back towards pretty near the beginning of the podcast.
Almost a decade at this point in time.
Yes. And the debate is, what is a sport? As simple as it can be. We dedicated a whole episode to, I think it was episode 12 with Chris Vellucci. That was fully dedicated to that. But throughout the 8 years we've been doing this, it has gotten sprinkled back in. It comes up every once in a while, and it's just as fiercely debated as day one. Who was it that finally shed a little bit of light onto
Haig, I think.
Was it Haig?
I think it was Haig.
That doesn't sound right, but I'll go with it. I feel like Haig doesn't shed light on anything.
Sure he does.
Haig blocks a lot of light, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, but there was, we'll say Haig shed some light on kind of how to define a sport, which helped us along the way. But we're still wildly in disagreement with each other and with ourselves, quite frankly.
It's kind of an evolving conversation, which is why it's fun to kind of revisit it every now and again, because it's like, do I still feel the same way about what this is? Because I also realized too, which I've realized is depending on where you live and where you're raised, there's things that are just sort of like ingrained into your mind of like, oh, this is a sport because I've grown up with this around me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like for most Americans, football, basketball, hockey,
baseball.
Yeah, baseball. Like those are like the big ones. And now like more soccer, you know, and then of course you've got, you know, and then I used to always, you know, because some of the things were like, well, whatever's on ESPN, but then that gets kind of cloudy because there's like fucking poker on there and there's the spelling bee and shit like that. And I was like, nah, you know, it's like cheerleading competitions and like, it's athletic, but it's like, is it a sport? And then you get into some weird things like bowling and darts and golf, and you know, it starts getting in some weird places where you're like, and you try to define things because you're like, all these things that I think are sports have these things. It's like, yeah, well, what about downhill skiing? And you're like, fuck, you know, it's like all these elements where you're trying to figure out what's what. And I just find it, before I used to be like really adamant about like, no, this is whatever, but now
when we started, you drew a hard line. It was it was black or white. There was no gray area whatsoever.
I'm trying to be more open to that sort of stuff because, you know, I've come to the realization is that I don't think there's really, because I think what Haig would be like, well, what's the dictionary say? You know, like that's kind of how Haig goes about it. But I'm like, true, and it's just, it seems like there's some things that are more sport-like than others to some degree. Like I feel like there's some things that fall into that definition, I think, easier than other things, especially where it's like if you're being sort of judged on something, that's where it's like it gets tough because I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it's tough to.
There's an intangible quality where you're like, this just feels like what I'd call a sport,
right? Because like physically interacting with another person would feel like it qualifies, but that also excludes most track and field. Right. Because you're not physically doing that stuff, but I consider almost everything in track and field a fucking sport. Almost. So, you know, I mean, I don't want to be all, you know, absolutist here, you know.
What do you not consider?
I'm just leaving it open in case there's something there where someone's like, you know, the modern decathlon, which is weird, you know, weird.
I got you.
Sort of situation.
So let's talk. What do we have coming at us in 2028?
So 2028, some of the big changes is they're adding cricket, which I think is pretty cool. Cricket is a pretty wild sport. I don't think I've ever watched an entire game of it, probably because it lasts 5 days.
Right. Exactly. I don't think I have the gumption to watch a whole match. Yeah. So, but I would say that with the limited knowledge I have, I would say cricket falls into the sport camp for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very like because there's like pitching, there's hitting, there's catching, you know, there's all that sort of stuff, and it's apparently it said the version being played in 2028 is called T20, a shorter 3-hour variation. So cricket fans were overjoyed. They're like, "Yay! It's done in 3 hours." You know,
we can watch multiple matches. We can watch at least 2 in a day.
Yeah, but you also have to consider
over 5 days.
Like if these are 3 hours each match, like I mean, I guess it's probably no different than a baseball game, right? Because that can
No.
easily last 3 hours.
Well,
so.
without the new rules, I think the new rules they put in place keep it under 2 or an hour and a half or something like that.
Yeah, they keep it cruising.
They used to go that long. That's why they were like, "No, fuck this. We gotta, we gotta speed this up, guys.
This is pointless. Well, I don't know
This
why
is
we're doing
ridiculous."
This.
Yeah.
So cricket's getting added. Lacrosse is coming back in. It was whatever. Let's see here. There's a faster paced version that was developed in 2018. So that's called Sixes.
Called Sixes?
It's called Sixes, a fast paced version of lacrosse.
Sounds like a card game.
Right. And then there's this one. Flag fucking football.
Before we jump into that, do you consider lacrosse a sport in your mind?
I do. It's definitely physical. There's a lot of skill involved with that as far as like, passing that, the accuracy of it, and like it's essentially like a version of soccer in a lot of ways, and hockey all mixed together.
Without a doubt, in my mind, lacrosse is a sport.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
Now flag football, on the other hand, seems like a recreational activity more so than a sport.
That sounds like a summer league thing or an intramural sport.
Yeah.
That you play in college.
Yeah.
I remember playing flag football in college, and we
Like
actually
the Oak Park Recreational League.
Yeah. In college, actually, there were some guys at our team at our school who fucking went to nationals in the intramural leagues for it.
Cool.
And we played against them in the first round, and we huddle up. We're like, all right, we're gonna pass it. Okay, ready, go. And we're like, go. And we like try to pass. These guys come out and they're in fucking full on formations. They're running like motions. Like I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, and they're just like doing full on like legit plays. I'm like, that's what this is? I thought this was like what I played in fucking elementary school, like.
I love it, yeah.
They're like, ready, down! And they motion. They're like, red four! I'm like, what the fuck, man? This is flag football.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? But the idea of there being flag football at the Olympics, it's just, I'm trying to keep an open mind, but my initial reaction is like, that's fucking insulting. That's fucking insulting to be like, flag football. Put anything else in there, man.
Put football.
Right? I love this. It says, flag football, a non-contact version of American football, joins the list after a campaign by the NFL for its addition. The NFL's like, let's get it in there.
So the NFL did this, what is a springboard to get American football in there? Is there a reason American football isn't in there?
It says, the follow-up line says, more children in the U.S. between ages 6 and 12 play flag football than tackle football, according to the IOC, the International Olympics Committee. So...
Come on. What happened to kids getting concussions? When America used to be great, Doug.
It just sure did. What's my name? I don't know where I am, I don't remember things too much.
I'll say this. Will I watch it? 100%. I've got absolute curiosity to see what flag football looks like on the world stage. Very curious to see what this looks like.
Yeah, I too am interested to see what this looks like. Then there's squash, which I think is similar to like racquetball.
I get, to me that's a pastime. That's where you go. You play a game of squash. You go for a schwitz, and then you go out for a nice Cobb salad, and you close a deal. That's right. That's an afternoon.
Yeah, that's right. It's definitely whatever. But I mean, hey, listen, you know what? Olympic level people playing squash, I bet that'll be pretty fucking cool to see.
I guess.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. What I love is there's got to be like legit commentators for all of these things that are going to be breaking down everything you're seeing. They're going to be giving you the inside scoop of like the top players in the squash community. I'm like, oh my goodness, here comes Justin Strandland from the Swedes. He is known for his kill shot. He is, they're going to break down the stats. They're like, in the regular season of the squash tournament, Justin placed second. So he's looking for revenge against his nemesis in the league.
I can't wait to see these
Justin Thoreau,
Exactly, yeah. Justin versus Justin showdown. I can't wait to see these people get excited. I love the commentators because they have to get excited. They get the color commentators, especially, just like, oh, he faulted on the middle line. Oh my God, that was a foot over the middle. And yeah.
The better part is when they do like the heartfelt pieces about it. You know, like the lead up documentary sort of stuff before they go into it. They're like, Justin was 12 the first time he picked up a squash racket, and he was a natural from day one. Yeah, you know, I was just out in the farm with my grandfather. God rest his soul. He was the reason I got into this. And when his father got cancer, that's when things really turned around. He's like, I figured I got to do this for him, man. And it's like, and his first championship was rocked with controversy when, you know, it's just like, it takes you through all these different things.
Absolutely,
and it comes to like, here's the story of these two competitors with squash.
For a time, Justin and Dylan teamed up and were an unbeatable squash pair, and now they face off in the Olympic Games.
Yes, for the...
Two former teammates turned competitors, turned vicious competitors.
Right. It's just, it's wild. And then also something interesting, in 2024, I didn't realize this, there's breakdancing.
That makes me angry. I'm not gonna lie, Doug. I'm gonna be straight with you. That makes me angry.
Listen, is that gonna be fucking cool? I bet it'll be cool to watch, but should it be an Olympic sport? I don't know, man. I'm leaning towards no. Like, that's my initial thought is no. But, you know, are the Jabberwockies going to be there? I hope so, because that's going to be pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? Like,
man, I don't know. Let's see. He's confirmed one of the 4 additional sports along with skateboarding, sport climbing, and surfing approved for Paris.
wait, let me break this down for you. You ready? You ready for this? Here's the competition format for breakdancing. The breaking competition will comprise 2 gender-based medal events, one for men and the other for women. First of all, why? It's fucking breakdancing.
It's breakdancing, right?
Why
split it out at all?
I guess because the Olympic committee is like, we gotta have one for boys and one for girls. It can't be cross-gender. Like, whatever.
Right.
Like, it's so weird to me. But anyway, where 16 B-boys and 16 B-girls, don't know what the fuck that means.
Hard stop. I'm done. I'm out.
Don't know. Will compete against each other in spectacular solo battles. Each B-boy, B-girl will incorporate and adapt a vast combination of powerful dance moves, including power moves such as windmills, footwork, and the falcon punch, as the 6-step and freezes, improvising to the beats of DJ tracks in a bid to accumulate the highest score. The breaker with the highest number of points and rounds scored by the judges over his or her opponent in a solo battle will advance to the next round until the first Olympic breaking champion is officially named.
So here's my question. So they say they will improvising to the beat of a DJ's tracks, right? In a bid to accumulate the highest score. How do they know they're improvising? And do they get deducted if they find out that it is a pre-choreographed routine?
Well, I think probably because they won't know what the track is. So the DJ will just play a beat and you'll have to just like roll with the beat.
I'm not.
That's right. Admit how much you don't know about this, Justin.
I'm gonna. Can I get a Mind Gap exclusive?
Okay, hold on.
Can I get a Mind Gap exclusive?
Can I get an amen? Can I get a Mind Gap exclusive?
I'm about to drop some knowledge here.
All right, here we go.
This is a Mind Gap exclusive.
I'm not a breakdancer. But does the beat make that big of a difference?
Wow.
If you got moves, don't you just have moves?
Wow, dancers, fucking light him up in the comments.
I'm just saying, come at me.
Light this guy up.
Come at me, dancers.
Does a beat fucking matter?
If you got moves, don't you just have moves? Right?
Oh my god.
I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh my god.
I'm just saying.
I can't believe you're saying this. Can't believe you're saying this.
Look, all I'm saying is I am officially announcing my bid for the Olympics 2032. All right?
Here we go. This guy did gymnastics when he was younger.
I will be 49 years old. Prime for breakdancing.
Well, I imagine like you probably do have a repertoire of moves, right? And stuff that you can use.
You would think, right?
But putting them into a certain combination based on a beat as it's going with the DJ, I think is going to probably showcase what you can do, for that sort of stuff,
Sure, I guess.
For whatever reason, that makes a lot of sense to me, where it's like, yeah, I mean, if it's like playing this popular song, they're like, oh yeah, I have a choreographed thing that I used to do to this song because I know the beats, I know how that stuff goes, and I can do it. But if it's like you don't know what it's gonna be, and they start playing some music and a beat, it's like, all right, I gotta put a dance to this. And then what if the DJ like switches it up and transitions into another song or whatever to a different thing?
What if the DJ's like starts playing "My Heart Will Go On"?
Right.
Right? How you do it?
It's near, it's far, it's wherever you are.
Skrillex covers.
Yep. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. But back to the point. Listen, kudos to anyone who breakdances. That's fucking dope. That's
look,
amazing.
breakdancing is cool
I
as
love
shit.
it.
I love
Olympic event, no.
Right.
Hard no for me. I don't
get it.
When I look at the list of games that exist for 2024 and I see, artistic swimming. That's another fun one. You see like swimming. Again, I'm like archery. I'm like, sure, I guess. I don't love that one either. Athletics, which is track, badminton. Yeah, why not?
Handball.
Basketball, boxing, canoeing, of course. Canoeing, cycling, equestrian, right. Fencing, okay. Field hockey, sure. Soccer, sure. Golf, okay. Gymnastics. You start going through this, you're like, God, what a weird amalgamation
right.
of things. But
like,
what's fascinating... Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying, there are things on this list that I look at, I'm like, absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And there are things on here that I'm like, that's suspect. And again, I can't tell you why. It's just a gut feeling. It's just like, I don't know. Is it a skill? Are there people, like if I were to go up against someone, like in table tennis, if I were to go up against someone, I would get my ass rocked. But
absolutely.
Do I think it's an Olympic level sport? I struggle with that.
Right. Like sport climbing. Dude, fucking rock climbing is legit. Being able to do that is no joke.
Absolutely. I can't do it.
The strength and agility and endurance it takes to do that is just absolutely undeniable. But again, this is just, my perception. When I think Olympics, that does not pop to the top of my head. I was like, sport climbing. That's right. Yes. Canoeing. Right. That's an Olympic sport. But also, what's fascinating is Justin looked up what it takes for something to get added to the Olympics. And a lot of it is, first of all, just it shows the roadmap for all the bribery that has to take place to get your shit up there. Like all the different hands you have to grease to be considered. But a lot of it can probably be summed up with the fact that it has to be widely played or observed in many countries. Because, which I also, when I look at these things, I'm like, that's where I feel like my mindset has broadened to a certain degree, where I think for some of these, it's also weird gender gaps where like for men, it has to be in 75 countries. For women, it has to be 40. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, whatever. But the idea that this has to be recognized because this is a world stage for as many countries as possible to participate in this thing. So I guess to some degree, if you can get your activity onto the Olympics, that has to speak to some degree of how well it is received throughout the world, because they have those minimums and those requirements to get up there. So I guess to like the canoeing community,
sure,
obviously that's done so much to an extent that's like, hey, they made it through the committees, like they bribed their way like anyone else, and in most countries it's done. So what Justin and I are here to say is, to all the jugger community out there, we covered that a couple episodes back. Let's go. I want to see some fucking jugger in the goddamn Olympics, man.
Let's
Holy
get
shit.
this.
Can you imagine if we've got breakdancing? Imagine Jugger on the world stage at the Olympics, and you see people out there with their fucking foam weapons. They're like, "Here we go!" Woof, woof, and they're just, dude, I would fucking love that. That would be so cool.
Our big thing is we have to expand into as many countries as possible because, again, right now it's saying four continents. The biannual World Cup Club Championships regularly see teams and players attending from 4 continents: Europe, Australia, North America, South America. I'm looking at you, Europe. All right, we gotta spread out the wealth. We got to get into 75 countries for men, 40 countries for women, and we have to take this to the fucking IOC.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's do this. Let's fundraise. Let's put a Kickstarter together.
Right.
Let's get this shit going, man, because
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So right now, it's in 14 countries.
Yeah.
We got some work to do, but I think we can get there.
I'm looking at there was a link that says 7 canceled or reintroduced Olympic sports. Skeleton sledding? Nominally the creepiest of Olympic sports. Skeleton sledding was reintroduced in the Winter Olympics. Yada, yada, yada. What is this? Skeletons. What is this? I don't even know what it is. It looks weird, though.
Is it just some dude going face first on his belly down on like an open bobsled?
Dude, it looks like some sort of plank position on a fucking, like, sled. That's wild.
Do you have to be... Hold on, I got to look up images for skeleton sledding.
Right? No. Okay, so wait, what?
Images. No, you're on your belly, but you're basically you're on a bodyboard with blades, and you're going face first down a bobsled track. And if you fucking crash, you're done. As fast as 93 miles an hour, face first.
It's basically like the luge, but just reversed. Instead of laying on your back, you're laying on your stomach.
That's it. Yeah, that's really it.
Did you know that between the years 1900 and 1920, tug of war was an Olympic sport?
I did know tug of war. I didn't know the years, but I knew tug of war was in it. And that's something I say, bring it back. Let's go.
Right?
Let's fucking get nuts. If we're going to do this, let's get nuts.
No, I don't want to do it. Also, as I scroll down on this webpage, the next article says, "How did Helen Keller fly a plane?" I really like this website. This is...
Dude, let's shout out to Britannica, okay? Like, I'm going to put it out there. If you're of a certain age, when you were younger, you had a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas at home.
Right.
All right? They've gone online, and they are cranking out some fucking gold content, okay?
Yeah, right.
So, Britannica.com, get there, and let's show Britannica some love.
I love that. It was so good. I scrolled down a little bit. It's like, how did Helen Keller fly a plane? I'm like, cool. That's not what we're talking about. Maybe we'll save that for another time, but I'm interested.
Yeah. Like the next one for me is 12 Greek gods and goddesses. That's the next one I have for whatever reason.
I was like, okay, that's fun. So anyway, sound off in the comments. What is an Olympic event for you? Do you hold some sort of prestige to it? Is there some sort of checklist in your mind that an event in the Olympics has to hold? Like, what is it? How do you feel about flag football being in there? What do you think about breakdancing being in there? Like, fucking hit us up. I'd love to know. I'd love to know more about that. So, all right.
Sorry.
What? No, what?
Well, I'm on Britannica. I'm on a Britannica kick right now. So I just clicked on something that's called the Love Quiz.
Oh, boy.
You want to take it?
I do, but I really also want to get to this next thing.
Okay. Because I clicked on it too soon, and this is a timed quiz, and we're already halfway out of the time for the first question.
How much time do we have?
19 seconds. Cleopatra is romantically linked to what historical figure? Genghis Khan, King Tut, Alexander the Great, or Julius Caesar?
Julius Caesar.
Yes, that's it. Okay. King Henry VIII established the Church of England in order to marry what woman? Jane Seymour, Catherine of Aragon, Catherine Parr, or Anne Boleyn?
Anne Boleyn.
That's correct. After their spouse died in 1861, what monarch wore black every day for 40 years? Queen Elizabeth I, Marie Antoinette, Catherine the Great, Queen Victoria.
Oh, fuck. I don't know that one.
Marie Antoinette. Nope, it's Queen Victoria. So far, they've all been the fourth option. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna click through and just pick the fourth. Yep. That was the first option. Fourth. Second. Fourth. First. I feel like this is fourth. All right, we're done here.
Okay, we're done here.
Moving on.
All right. So a few weeks ago, there was a wonderful article in Rolling Stone about a bunch of anti-vaxxers thinking that an emergency phone alert would cause a zombie apocalypse. And if you all remember, FEMA sent out a test emergency broadcast signal on October 4th. And a lot of the people that are like conspiracy theorists kind of went bonkers about it, saying like the signal is going to trigger the 5G chip in the coronavirus vaccine and it's going to turn everyone into fucking zombies and stuff like that. And there was like some great things like, posts on Twitter that says, turn off your cell phones on October 4th. The electronic broadcast system is going to test the system using 5G. This will activate the Marburg virus, and people who have been vaccinated and sadly turned some of them into zombies.
It'll activate the mudblood virus?
The Marburg. Marburg.
I heard the mudblood.
Yeah, the mudblood. So like people just went absolutely batshit about this. And it was one of those things where once again, you would see these conspiracy theories like popping up and people would firmly believe that on this date, it's going to happen. And that came and it went and nothing happened. And like all things, I'm like, where's the accountability? Where's the guy who posted this and then nothing happens? Where's the person that's be like, hey, it didn't happen? Where's the accountability for that, right? Who's going to sit there and be like, hey, that didn't happen, so what now? But there's never any sort of like, man, maybe we were wrong. It's like they learned about it, so they shifted it. They shifted the date or they shifted the thing because, let's face it, it's way more fun to live life thinking that the government is trying to turn you into zombies than to deal with the fact that you got to go to fucking work tomorrow, Right.
Well, I also love it's like to this end, there was a comedian, I think I sent it to you in Slotty, but there was a comedian who was talking about like to all the people who think, we were injected with this nanotechnology with the vaccines and it's sitting dormant and it's waiting to, and he goes, how advanced do you think we are with battery technology? He's like, any battery that you have, your phone, anything, do you get more than a day's charge out of this thing? So you think they're injecting us, not only do they have nanotechnology, but they somehow have equipped these things with batteries that are going to last an indeterminate amount of time only to be activated and then never turn off. He's like, come on. If nothing else, false.com on that. Yeah. Like just that's ridiculous. But the thing that worries me more about this, and I want to get into the craziness that this is, but the thing that worries me about this is that these people vote.
They sure do.
And these people drive.
They sure do.
And participate actively in everyday life.
They sure do.
Like I feel like there needs to be some sort of test.
Purge?
Sorry, yes. See, you took the words out of my mouth. No, there needs to be some sort of test that if you are gonna, I don't want people like this picking who's gonna legislate, like who's gonna lead the fucking country. There's got to be some sort of like just basic, are you a fucking nut job test? That if you don't pass it, you don't get to vote. Hard stop.
It raises serious logistical things where you're creating barriers for people to vote, which is scary.
Look, I'm not saying it's a good. Yeah, I'm not saying there's an easy way to do it. I'm just saying, and these people would probably feel the same way about me. They'll probably say, "Well, I don't want you picking because you're crazy."
You're a sheep. Really, I don't want the sheep voting for whoever or whatever.
Exactly. Sheep will elect more sheeple.
Right. It sucks because
but it's legitimately terrifying though.
Yeah, it sucks because this kind of stuff, like, there's always something, right? There's always something to latch onto. There's always the next thing that's coming out or this or that, and I've heard anecdotes from people who have gone down the QAnon rabbit hole and not come out, and the things that they get, because that's another one where I'm like, dude,
right?
Whoever Q is really fucking wrong. Like that guy ain't right about shit. You know what I mean? Like, and in the idea of, I think what makes conspiracies so fun and interesting is that, holy shit, if they're true. Like the excitement behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so exciting. Like there was the one about Paul McCartney being dead, you know, like that he actually died in 1966 and they got a replacement. And then if you look at the cover art, you know, Paul McCartney's wearing barefoot, but the other ones aren't. He's out of step and they're trying to tell you something, man. And he's not real.
On the Sgt. Pepper's cover, that's they've got a wreath of flowers in the shape of a base, and it's for his his funeral and all these fucking things. Yeah,
it's so much more fun. Like, isn't that a fun thing to consider versus, yeah, he's alive.
Yep. And he's
doing
fine.
Just fine.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. In fact, he's performing.
Exactly.
Go to paulmccartney.com for tour dates. You know, like
he's alive and in fact thriving.
Yeah. He's doing fucking awesome. You know, check out the new song for the Beatles, available now.
Exactly.
You know, that's way more interesting to believe in than any of that other stuff. And I think I'm not an expert on any of this sort of shit, but I think it's far more, if you think of yourself in some sort of like, almost like a spy movie or novel, like the government. And I've said this on other episodes. I say this again, like people have too much credit for our government to think that they can pull this shit off. Like,
absolutely.
And here's the thing. They only have to be right once, meaning like the conspiracy theorists. They just have to get one right one time, and they're like, see, I told you so. It's like, yeah, but you were wrong so many other times. It's like, but I got this one right. It's like, okay, I mean, a clock is right twice a day. You know, like a broken clock is right twice a day. Right. So like that's the kind of thing that I look at and see this sort of stuff. And I don't know, man. Like, also, I think that's a terrifying world to live in. It's like, if you think that this much evil, like, intent is happening, that our government's, like, trying to microchip us and do this sort of stuff, like, that has to be such an isolating and just, you got to be living in fear or anger all the time. You can't trust anybody about anything, and you're relying on other people on the internet to, like, validate yourself and things like that. That's got to be fucking terrifying.
Absolutely, yeah, and like because everything is a threat. Then every single thing that you encounter throughout the day is an absolute threat to your survival, to your base level survival.
Yeah,
and that's it's exhausting.
It's got to be. I mean, years ago, I think I shared this with you. There was a guy who was absolutely positive. He filmed him driving. He was saying that any silver car that he saw was the government, like, harassing him. And he was just filming himself, like, he's like, there's another one. I was like, do you know how many silver cars that just exist in the world?
Yeah.
Like, that's just, and you think they're out to get you? Because I would laugh at that and be like, you're pretty self-involved to think that the government's trying to get you. Like, what information do you have that makes you think that they need to get you and intimidate and silence you? Like, what do you have, sir? You know, like,
yeah.
I mean, but to some extent, that's got to be pretty exciting, right? Like, the government's trying to get me, man. They're trying to shut me down, you know? Well, this is what it's all about.
And like, to that end, like, why you? Well, like, what, like you said, like, what do you have? And then all these people who are like, you know, they think that they're Bill Gates and George Soros can track individuals. Why? What are they tracking? Are they tracking you? Why?
Yeah.
What are they tracking for?
That's not to say we should surrender our privacy because, no, like, you know, but the idea of like, no, man, they're out there. It's like, but why?
What's the, like, what do they stand to gain? That's the thing. The minute that you start asking that next question, the argument falls apart. It's like, well, what do they stand to gain by tracking you? Well, exactly. You know, they can this and this and this. Okay, well, so they're it's what Jordan Klepper does so well.
Yes.
Anytime he asks that next question and challenges that one more challenging question, and you can slowly see their argument start to unravel. Yeah,
it starts to crumble with each one, then it's like, fuck,
right,
fuck.
Exactly.
And,
and then they get mad at him and they walk away. Yeah. And so it's just. All
right, well, I have 4 conspiracy theories, Justin, and you have to pick one that you're going to adopt for the rest of your life.
All right.
Okay? All right, here we go. Number 1, rocks are soft until touched. It's number 1.
Are these, can I ask, did you pull these from, are these real conspiracy
I pulled these
theories?
from, so these are real. I wish I made that up, but I didn't. Rocks are soft.
That sounds like the beginning of an improv game. Like,
right?
Yeah.
It's like, can I get a suggestion of anything? Rocks are soft until touched. All right, here we go. Rocks are soft until touched. Here we go. All right, so there's that one.
All right.
Traffic barrels are left up for so long because the Department of Transportation bought too many and have no place to store them.
So far, that's the one that I'm going with. Absolutely, yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right. Giselle Bundchen is an actual witch, and she hexed Leonardo DiCaprio after they broke up so that he would never be able to date anyone older than she was when they broke up.
Okay, I love it.
All right,
I love it
last one.
so much.
Last one. Walt Disney was cryogenically frozen, and they made the movie Frozen so that when people Googled Walt Disney Frozen, the movie would come up first.
Wait, say that one more time.
Walt Disney was cryogenically frozen, and they made the movie Frozen so that when people Googled Walt Disney Frozen, the movie would come up first.
That one might be my favorite one, but I have to. I really like.
You gotta pick one. Which one are you subscribing to and being like, listen, y'all, I got something to tell you. Gather around over Thanksgiving dinner. I got something to blow your mind.
The most entertaining one for me, hands down, is the is the Disney one, because I love the idea. I love the idea.
Right.
That they wanted. They're like, oh, we can't control the algorithm, so we just have to make a movie that somehow uses the same key search words.
Right.
To protect Disney.
This has been getting out. People are starting to believe that the only way to do this is to make a hit movie named Frozen so that it will cover the trail.
That being said, I am 100% going to adopt the traffic barrel thing, because I distinctly remember having this conversation with someone within the last 6 months of like, you're driving down the road and you're just like, you never see him putting them out. You never see him picking them up. Where do they go? How do they get here? And where do they go? Right. Like, they just move them around. That's all it is. So I'm 100%. I do love the Rock one. That's such a great. That's such a great weird. I feel like I want to write a short film about that. Like, that's, I don't know what, but I love the concept. But
yeah, there was some other thing. It's like, does a fish know it's wet if it's in the water?
Well, isn't there a whole thing about
I'm sure there is.
As a human, from a scientific standpoint, you can never be wet, or you can never feel water. You feel the difference in temperature, but because of it's I can't remember how it is.
Yeah,
but,
I remember there was this popped up for a while where there's these guys arguing. It's like, does a fish know it's wet or some shit like that? People are like, yeah, it's in water, but it's like it's spent its whole life. It's like, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, do leprechauns fuck or whatever it is, like, I don't know what it is. But I do like the idea of rocks. It's like they're just sitting there all soft and cushy until you touch them and they tense up. They're like, no,
yeah, it's like Toy Story. They're just like, oh, humans, yeah, firm.
Yeah, because they do not look soft, but that's very funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So you're sticking with the traffic barrel one.
I'm sticking with the traffic barrel. Which one are you going with?
I gotta go with the Walt Disney one, man. That one is just so clever, and so because it builds on top of another conspiracy theory.
Yes,
Walt Disney is cryogenically frozen, and then they're like, we gotta hide this, man. We gotta make a fucking movie, a hit movie that's gonna absolutely cover our tracks. Then we're gonna make a sequel that's gonna cover that even more, and that way no one will ever be able to find out about what we're doing. It's
such a fucking. I love that.
I love it.
Those are great. Those are four very good. Three very good. The Leo Giselle one was a little but three very good ones.
I do also kind of appreciate it because it's like,
well, it's more of a burn on Leo.
Well, not only I feel like it takes the creepiness away from Leo, that conspiracy theory that he just doesn't like young women. It's like, he's cursed. It's like, no, he's got a certain thing that he's into. And for whatever reason, after 25 or whatever, he's like, get out of here, There's something comical about like, oh no, I'm cursed. I can't hang on to them. And it's like, no, actually, he's just kind of, as it gets older, it gets creepier.
It gets creepier. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So maybe that's what it was designed to be, was like, it's fine. But as he keeps getting older, he's like, no, I can never find love because I'll always leave. And I just keep getting older. And it's the opposite of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I don't want this. I don't want this at all. But anyway, that's a practical thing, right?
It is.
You got the questions, we got the answers. All you do is ask. Live, practical, practical. Ask Practical Doug.
So, if you've never been here for Ask Practical Doug before, Practical Doug is a tiny Doug that lives inside of Large Doug, and he helps guide Large Doug through all of life's quandaries, its quagmires, its questions. And if you'd like to ask Practical Doug a question, you can on any social media at MindGap Podcast, hashtag Ask Practical Doug. You can also jump into our Discord. Did you know we have a Discord? Link in the description below. And there's a channel on there that's dedicated to Ask Practical Doug. And if you have a good enough Ask Practical Doug question, you might get it on the show. It might be read out loud on the show and answered in front of tens of people. And today, we're not going back to the Am I the Asshole? Well, we got a really good question from the one and only Thunder from Down Under, Mr. Jared.
Yes.
He asks, Doug, who owns graffiti? The property owner or the artist?
And he prefaced with don't look it up.
Right, because apparently there's
there's
a legal precedent about this. But it is a great. I never considered this question, but it's a solid question.
I have a feeling that the law would do a left turn on this. But the way Practical Doug sees this, if the art was commissioned to be placed somewhere, I would say obviously whoever commissioned it possibly could own it, or there would be some maybe mutual ownership of the artist goes, hey, can I buy a space to do this or whatever. Sure. But graffiti by itself implies that it's not commissioned, that it's done without permission. Therefore, if you are spray painting on someone else's property or creating art on someone's property, the property owner would then own the art. That would own the graffiti because it's on their property. They didn't ask for that to exist. Therefore, they would be able to remove it, which you see often, like graffiti is removed from the property, and things like that. So I would believe that it's the property owner that then owns the graffiti.
I would say the artist is more of a criminal at that point. And not only could the property owner remove it and do it whatever they want, they could also press charges if they catch it. So
now here's the question.
That being said,
if?
I'm totally for graffiti.
Good graffiti. Good
graffiti. Yes.
Yes. I would say also now it would be interesting if, say, someone graffitis it and then that person starts making money off of the graffiti, they start charging, they put up a red velvet rope and they start charging people to come in and look at it. They charge, or they sort of incorporate it into their business. They sell postcards, or it's hey, just look for this. It's part of our whatever. I think that would get really interesting. I still think it lies with the property owner because it's their property.
I would say, yeah. I would say again. I think it's a whole commission thing, right? If you came in and did this, you're essentially gifting that. Mm-hmm. That's you put something on someone else's property. They still own the thing that's on.
Mm-hmm. So, but since there's money being changed, I bet there could be some sort of legal case to be made. Well, that was someone else's work,
sure, and
now you're profiting off of someone else's work. I think it'd be an interesting argument. I'd still personally side with the property owner.
Yes.
Because in my opinion, it's I didn't want this, but I'm going to make lemonade out of some lemons here, and I'm going to fucking, capitalize on this, sort of situation, yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, if you hire a really good lawyer, they might be able to make that argument. But at the end of the day, I still say it goes to the property owner, right? The ownership is 9/10 of the law, right?
Yeah, right.
You own the property, then you own the art.
Yeah. I'm actually Googling this.
Are you
now.
Googling? You're going
Yeah.
against what Jared told you to do?
Well, after I answered it.
Yeah.
Like, I
well, here's the
answered it
thing.
first.
This question's coming from a criminal, all Australians. So,
Yeah. Let's see. Who owns the copyright on graffiti? According to Medium. It says the owner of the building also has the right to preserve, paint over, or sell off the work as they so choose. The moral of the story is that if you would like to assert copyright protection over your graffiti, make sure you have the building owner's permission before you bring out the paint cans. Exactly.
now does it change by country?
Probably.
Easy enough, yes.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
probably
Well,
what
there
it
you go.
was.
So,
Yeah.
there you go. So, Practical Doug ruled correctly.
That's goddamn right.
It is decided.
Yeah, baby. Woo! Woo! Fucking awesome. I'm fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. Yeah, baby. All right, Justin, what do you have to recommend this week?
So I went to a screening of a film called Hayseed. It's a feature film by written and directed by Travis Burgess. It's his directorial debut. And Drew randomly started talking to one of the producers on Instagram. Mr. Holy cow, I'm blanking right now. Victor
Holy
Lord.
cow.
One Mr. Victor Lord, and he was like, "Hey, Justin, they made this film in they shot it in Eden Rapids, which is just over by Lansing, where MSU is." And he was like, "They're doing a screening. They're touring it across the country, going from west to east. They're going to end in New York, but they're doing Detroit, Ann Arbor, Lansing, and Grand Rapids." And so I was like, oh, fuck. So started talking to Victor myself on Instagram, picked up a ticket for the screening and went, and then got to go to a bar and hang out with the filmmakers afterwards. Really cool dudes. A fun murder mystery. It's set in a small Midwest town. Hayseed follows the investigation of a church congregation after their reverend is found dead. So it's kind of got wisps of Glass Onion and Ocean's 11, and there's some Coen brothers DNA in there, so you can kind of see where Travis got some of his inspiration. I'll say this, not an easy thing to do. One of those movies where it's a whodunit, and you've got to like drop clues throughout, and then misdirect, and then pull this thing back, and this person crossed paths with this person, and the whole thing. I asked him, you'll appreciate this. Well, there was a Q&A afterwards. Someone asked, and then I got a little bit more clarification at the bar later on. How did he plot this out? Doug, he used Excel.
Hey.
He had all the hours in the day, and he had all the people, and he mapped out where each person was in each hour and when they crossed over, so that if at any point when they were shooting it or anything, if someone had a question, he could say, yes, your character just came from here, and you're going to here, and you just crossed paths with this person. And I was like,
Fucking brilliant.
That's how you do it. That's a great use. That's a great marriage of creative and analytical merging in Excel, right?
Yes.
Not just for the math nerds.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great when you see people use what they have at their disposal.
Yeah.
And that's honestly like Practical Doug just got a huge erection from that. I'm like, of course that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Like, it's so easy. Oh, it's so fucking good, man.
I thought that was a brilliant way to go about it. So, Hayseed is it's streaming today, November 21st, when we're recording this. So you can go to Amazon. I believe it's Amazon, Apple TV Plus, and Plex, and maybe Vudu. But you can find it. So get out there and find it. It's Hayseed is the name of the film, Hayseed, and give it a look. I support small filmmakers, support indie filmmakers, and I think you'll enjoy it. So, Doug, what do you got?
I just finished today. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It's the animated series on Netflix that brings all of the original cast from the movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and it tells a new story. So you've got Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim, Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Ramona Flowers. You got Kieran Culkin as Wallace Wells, Chris Evans as Lucas Lee, like Brie Larson, Brandon Ruth, Jason Schwartzman, like everyone came back.
I didn't realize they were doing this. That's so cool.
And the animation is phenomenal, and it tells a unique story, and it's very fun. And honestly, I remember seeing Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and I was like, it's fine, whatever, didn't really think much of it. I didn't even realize it was based on an actual, like, comic. And this, like, it fits way better in an animated sense because they do wild shit and don't explain it, but you're like, that's fine. Like, we just roll with it. Like, things are happening, and it just feels like kind of like a cartoon where shit can happen. Like, two characters are fighting in a video store, and like something falls on them, and all of a sudden they're in a movie. Like, they're in an old time movie, and they're just jumping from movie to movie as they fight. And then someone's like watching them on a TV, and they pause it and they rewind it and they rewind in the fight. And it's just like, it's great. You just roll with like, this is the world we're working in. Like, people can fit in someone's purse, and it's bizarre. It's fun. It's actually really well written. And it's fun, and it's just a very interesting story.
Great.
Highly recommend it. And I feel like Kieran Culkin stole the show in the original movie, and I feel like his character does the same thing. Like, whenever... Did you ever see Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?
I haven't seen it in its entirety. So I've seen a bunch of clips from it, but I've never watched it top to bottom.
There was, they also have like a lot of great Easter eggs. It's like the first movie was directed by Edgar Wright.
Okay.
In this movie, at some point, there's a director whose name's Edgar Wrong, like just little things like that. And, and Edgar Wright was an executive producer on this, which I think was great. But like, I remember Kieran Culkin's character in the movie just like had these like zippy lines of just like, they're at some band competition, like Battle of the Bands. This band plays a song that's done in like 10 seconds, and Kieran Culkin's like, "Don't worry, guys, it's not a sprint. Don't have to rush everything." He's just like heckling and just like zinging these guys. I'm like, I fucking love it. He brings that exact same energy, obviously because it's the same character, but he just fucking kills it in the show. I love it so much. So it's available now on Netflix. I think it's only like 7 or 8 episodes. It's 8 episodes, and they're 25 to 30 minutes each, so it's like a quick, breezy, fun experience. So
fuck yeah,
highly recommend it. Go check it out.
Go check it out.
Go check it out. And while you're checking shit out, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/MindGapPodcast. Follow us on our social medias at MindGapPodcast. Link in the description down below for all that stuff, including links to our Discord, our Patreon, our merch, all that good shit. And be sure to follow Justin online as well.
On Instagram at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it while you're in the online realm. Check us out on any platform where you can find and consume quality podcasts. You'll find us, and you can consume us there as well. Like, subscribe, share, rate, review, all those things that we ask you to do all the time. Sharing is the big one. Let people know that we exist. It helps dramatically. And then 2east8th.com, 2east8th on all social media, loveanimprovfilm.com, and loveanimprovfilm on Instagram.
Bada bing with a pipe, as they say. And I just want to say, hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you're having a chill Black Friday or relaxed Cyber Monday. And I just want to say, Justin, thank you.
Doug, I'm thankful for you.
God damn you. And listeners and viewers, I'm thankful for you. And we love you. Have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.